Welcome, guys. Welcome to another episode of Market Wrap with Mr. Pankaj Pandey, a research head at ICICI Direct. Welcome, sir. Good afternoon. Market भी good है, आप भी good हो. कैसा लग रहा है, sir?
Good afternoon, Gaurav. Yes, markets are good. I am also feeling very great.
Yeah. So, sir, let's start with the index only, Nifty specifically, and IT. उसके बाद मैं वहाँ पे आता हूँ कि Nifty has again breached its all-time high mark and we closed somewhere near 21,900. एक previous resistance टूटा है. Usually when such thing happens, we have seen a vicious move on the upside. मतलब एक fast move आता है. So going ahead, what is your view on index and also the support if somebody लोग पूछते हैं कि नीचे आया dip मिला तो कहाँ तक हम इसको dip पे buy कर सकते हैं?
So, Gaurav, I think overall our sense is that if market has consolidated in this range of say 21,500 to 800 for some days. Now we have seen a breakout today. So our sense is that what we had said earlier also 22,300 looks on the cards.
Yeah.
And which is why overall our sense is that from now onwards, we are entering into a result season. So obviously markets are going to be driven by the earning sentiments. And usually result season mein you see more of stock specific moves happening. So I think overall 22,300 ke beyond mein, so I would expect markets to again sort of take a sort of a back seat, and you will see more of stock specific moves because just as the numbers range, stocks will react accordingly. But I think 21,800 becomes the support because that level has been breached today. And I think sectorally, all sectors are largely looking fine. We have seen laggards also sort of outperform, doing well. So IT is a specific case. And then BFSI, PSUs, BFSI is still not really done the kind of performance given its weightage. Otherwise, PSUs, oil and gas, infra and power, I think all of them are expected to sort of keep pitching in. Gaurav, you're on mute, I think.
Sorry. So I'm saying the major catalyst for today's move was IT. And we saw two results yesterday, two major results, Infosys and TCS. So let's take the flow only. What is your take on their results? And do you see IT pack now coming out of their laggardness and moving, making new all-time high as well?
So three things on IT. If you look at one, result expectations were quite subdued. So there's not much of an expectation which was there. So on subdued expectations, the results were relatively better, and which is why we've seen a good sort of price performance
Right.
in some of the names like TCS and Infosys particularly. Now, coming to say specific numbers, our sense is that when you look at TCS numbers were relatively better. They did 1% quarter-on-quarter growth. But I think the challenge with TCS is that if you look at from a geography-wise, Europe continues to sort of do well. US is still sort of struggling, and within key verticals, you have segments like BFSI, which is still sort of degrowing. I think the good part for say TCS was three things. One, their margins have been better. So during the first quarter, they had margins of some 23.5%, which they've gone up to 25%. Guidance is 26 to 28%. So they're sort of confident on that front. And deal wins have been good. So we are still not sure in the near term how much of these deal wins are going to sort of convert into revenues. But management is clearly highlighting that the pipeline and everything remains good. Yeah. So near term triggers are still sort of missing. I think the price performance today, what you are seeing is largely because there is a left out feeling, especially among market participants. Yeah. And IT is one sector which hasn't really sort of done much. So I think a good chunk of allocation probably has come to IT pack, and which is why we've seen. But structurally, I still don't expect IT to outperform, largely because we look at what happened last year. Last year, the currency was flat with so much of inflows anticipated. I would not expect currency as a tailwind to sort of pan out. Then ideally, these companies will deliver 5 to 7% kind of a dollar revenue growth, which is not really good enough growth to outbeat the Nifty growth of 14, 15 or 16% what you have estimated. So structurally, I don't see the math where these companies will outperform. But yes, since they have underperformed, so some bit of a catch-up is definitely happening. On the Infi,
Okay.
overall numbers, if you look at top line, still declined by 1% quarter on quarter. Same commentary in terms of for them also, the American market declined by some 5%. Europe continues to sort of do well. Then BFSI also sort of continues to be a laggard for them. I think margin-wise, their performance was slightly subdued because I think one needs to take into account the fact that they have given salary hikes also.
Right.
Otherwise, margins were sort of okay. I think so. Infi also, I think, relatively same sort of outlook, I would say. It is just that it was trading a slightly more discount to TCS compared
TCS.
to historically. So typically the discounting or TCS discounts at about 20% compared to say TCS multiples. I think that got bridged today. So which is why
Yeah.
the price performance in Infi was larger compared to TCS.
Basically, we can easily say that a lot of things were already priced in, and a lot of negative things were already priced in. It's just one of those reaction where things did not go bad to worse. It's still there, but खराब नहीं हुआ, इसलिए वो एक reaction हमें ऊपर की तरफ मिल चुका था. That's perfect. तो सर एक और डेटा है एक्चुअली. अब आईटी पे तो you're not bullish. I think your sectors where you will be bullish is infra, banking, and metal mining, which you have already said. Second, sir, we have seen a very good inflow of SIPs in the month of December, and I think December month usually लोग कहते हैं कि सब ठंडा लेते हैं, vacation वाला मोड होता है. And having such great SIP inflows in the month of December, what is your take on such influx of money into the capital market?
I think SIP inflow is something which continues to surprise everyone. And also, when you sort of look at the HDFC AMC commentary, a good chunk of SIPs are coming beyond top 30 cities as well. Now, value-wise, obviously, highest amount at 17,600. And I think there has continuous surprises there on the small cap inflows. So a small cap got some 3,900 odd crores, which is the highest. Mid cap got 1,400, and there was outflow from large caps. Contrary to the expectation that large caps are relatively attractive, but I think investors are finding a lot of comfort in small caps. I think there is one reason for it because when you look at the universe, you have 100 large caps, 150 small mid caps, and then you have 4,000 companies which are small caps.
Yeah.
The maximum money making or multi-bagger opportunities are there in the small caps, and which is why I think small caps have caught the fancy of investors. And structurally, we are very positive because see, this year we've got inflows of 1.6 lakh crore in 9 months only, which is what we had got in the entire year. And I think 4-5 years back, the inflows were some 60,000-70,000 odd crores from mutual fund investors. So it's a phenomenal jump what you're seeing, and good for our markets because that is keeping the market in high spirits.
Absolutely. So, sir, in between you spoke about HDFC AMC's result. So I think result reaction bhi acha tha. I think stock was 4-5% up yesterday, as I can recollect. So what is your take and what is the color you see from the management commentary? Obviously positive hai, but do you see like staying invested, or do you have any coverage on this at this juncture?
So HDFC AMC was our 2022 calendar year pick. So that point of time, the stock was in the worst of news flows.
Yes.
So from those levels, the stock has actually doubled. Now coming to results specific, it's one of the best play on financial savings because largest mutual fund. And good part is that they've got good exposure to the mutual fund, to the PSUs, and which is why most of their funds are also sort of doing well. Their AUM market share has also sort of increased by 10 bips to 11.3%. And while the total expense ratios have sort of come down, but I think overall they've made up with a higher contribution coming from equity AUM. So I think stock has done well. And it's already trading at about 11 times of their AUM. In good times, they used to trade about 13-14% of their overall AUM. So there's still upside,
Yes.
but since it has rallied, I would prefer it to sort of correct a bit, and probably that might be a sort of a better entry point for this stock.
Absolutely. I think I remember 2022, somewhere around May, June, it was trading at 1970, 1975 level. Now I think it's in 3000 mark, 3400-ish something. So yeah,
Correct.
it has. Yeah. So sir, if not, this UTI AMC is also one of the place which is there. Do we have coverage on that? Sorry, I'm talking about this sector, but I think UTI is also a good, like, can be a good substitute for HDFC if someone has missed the rally. Is that what do you agree with?
I wouldn't, because see, you look at HDFC AMC, they make about, the top line is 50 bips of the overall AUM, which is sort of come down to 47. So they are one of the most profitable AMCs. So their profit is some 34 bips of their closing AUM. So I think a lot of players have a lot more lesser. Probably Nippon might be a sort of a better bet to look at, but I need to look at the relative valuations.
Okay, that works. So moving from AMCs to auto side, we have like the biggest news that came in. It came in when we were doing a live session, our trading session that we do. Bajaj Auto stocks started moving up, and Bajaj Auto has come out with a buyback of I think 10,000 rupees per they're planning to do a buyback. So, what is your view on this sector now, and specifically Bajaj Auto?
So Bajaj Auto, contrary to our expectation, has done very well. The buyback price at 10,000 is some 40% premium to the price when it was disclosed. Obviously, this company is one of the most efficient companies. If you look at margin-wise, they've got the best of the margins, and their way of returning surplus cash in terms of dividend or in terms of buyback has always been good. So this is more of a tax-efficient mechanism of using the surplus cash of 17,000 odd crores they have got. But I think one should not get mistaken that prices are going to inch up towards 10,000 rupees for Bajaj Auto, largely because, see, look at YTD, their volumes are still not grown, largely
Yeah.
because while domestic volumes are doing good, the export volumes are still sort of sluggish, and not only for them, even for others also. So there is not much clarity. So from that perspective, it is the buyback price is good, but don't get mistaken it for the fact that
Dasar ho
from seven,
jayega.
the sir नहीं होने वाला है इतनी जल्दी. So for that to happen, I think rural recovery needs to sort of go into full hog. Plus, I think export volumes need to do very well.
Okay. Sir, coming from Bajaj Auto to another big house of auto, that is Maruti. They have announced some projects in Gujarat. So, are you tracking this news and do you see any good positive impact on this stock?
So there is a big disconnect when management talks about the volume growth. So they will talk about 7-8% kind of a volume growth, so which again looks too less. But when you see their capacity addition plans, those are quite good. So there is a sort of a disconnect there. But I think the company had previously announced that they would look to have two greenfield plants of 10 lakh each capacity. One is coming in Haryana, where I think first phase will happen sort of next year. The other one is what they have announced in Gujarat. I think the capex amount is also significantly large. So I think since it is an MOU, not much of a detail is there. But I think this is quite interesting if Maruti is sort of looking at higher volume growth, though the management is still sort of talking of lower growth. So if they turn more confident on growth numbers, I think Maruti is one stock which hasn't done much of a price performance. Possibly it can do. So again, it's more of a positive, cautious watch.
Okay, I'll ask you this. How bullish are you on auto?
So some of the names like, say, for example, Tata Motors, I'm quite bullish. We
वो तो
would
मैं
look
पूछूंगा वो पूछूंगा नहीं वो 3-4 digit जाएगा तो पूछूंगा मैं
So,
आपसे.
so we are also liking Eicher Motors, largely because it is one of the best premiumization plays in the two-wheeler space. And Ashok Leyland is another company which we like because I think CV is one segment which, while it has slated to make a high next year, but I think overall this is one company where our sense is that the margin profile has shifted to double digits from single digits. So Ashok Leyland is another company which should do well.
Okay, perfect. Sir, there was a business update from LIC Corporation as well. So, what is your take on the business update from LIC? Also, your take on the entire insurance pack as a whole.
So I think Gaurav, people get confused when they look at monthly numbers and say that, oh, LIC did 93% kind of overall growth in premium. But I think monthly numbers is slightly deceptive because for December month, largely the surge in LIC happened because of the group premium. So I think YTD numbers or 9-month numbers is a better indicator to sort of look at. And from that perspective, I think SBI Life, which continues to be the best in terms of price performance, I think they have delivered about 20% kind of a growth rate. LIC is still struggling with 16% growth. HDFC Life is also not really doing that great with 10% kind of a growth. But in insurance, Q4 is the most important quarter. So I think we'll have to see from now onwards because a lot of tax planning happens in Q4. So I think Q4 becomes quite important. Let's see, up till now, SBI Life has done well. LIC, I think 1 month number does not really make a difference.
Okay, I think HDFC Life's results came today. So next Friday, when I take this market wrap, I'll ask you your view on that because definitely wouldn't have got time to check.
Yeah, I'll come back.
So, sir, these were this week's major news which was made. As usual, I'll take them and then come to our hidden gem. That's our final segment. So, sir, someone's asking, can we take position in Netweb Tech and Newgen Tech for long term? Because this KG sir is asking on this because he had a question on Infi result, जो answer कर दिया आपने already. Based on that, he's asking, can we make positions of these stocks?
So Netweb, we haven't checked, but I think if I recollect, they are sort of into supercomputers, so it's a sort of a niche segment. Need to see further details. Newgen is a very good company from the perspective that the company has been talking of double-digit growth, 20% plus kind of a margins. The only challenge is the stock has done very well. So I think price performance is largely capturing. But in case if we get a price correction, I think it is a good stock to have.
Okay. Sir, someone is asking, I seen Kejriwal, I guess, yeah. I think special metals like metal stocks like Moil, Midhani are not moving or are not participating in this bull run. Any specific reason why?
So I think one, if you look at Midhani, is not moving largely because they manufacture specialized alloy or titanium alloys which are used in aircraft engines and all that. Now, if you notice, we had news that the engine deal with US is on track. Possibly the overall ramp up should happen in the next 3-4 years. So since the ramp up is going to take time, so this company also is going to sort of take some time to sort of perform. And I think if the stock has not done well, probably one can accumulate more rather than sort of being worried that it hasn't done well. Because at this point in time, a lot of stocks have rallied, so which is why the overall investable universe is sort of drying up a bit.
Yeah, and I think you have been bullish on this stock, this sector to be precise, especially Midhani. I remember this is when Chandrayaan took off. Before Chandrayaan, this was one of our Chandrayaan picks. Midhani was one of those picks there. So three more stock के ऊपर questions है. Your favorite pack is coming up. ABB and Siemens के ऊपर question है. What is your view on ABB and Siemens both?
So both of them are quite expensive. I think so. Valuation wise, I think both of them are trading in excess of 50 times 2 year forward. So, but I think Siemens look quite attractive from the perspective that they are a beneficiary of the entire capex. So they are the single largest product company. And I think recently they have highlighted that private sector is expected to pick up because what has happened is that COVID times, pre-COVID, the private sector capacity utilization was 50%. Now it has jumped to 80%. The moment it crosses 85%, which they expect probably in a year's time, then the capex from the private sector starts. So I think Siemens and ABB look good. Fresh incremental buying at current levels because none of them are cheap. But if you're holding it, don't sort of book profits because I think this is one stock where nobody is booking profits. I mean, you look at mutual funds or anyone. So I think everyone wants to hold despite the fact that they are expensive.
Look at L&T, sir. I think I'll add L&T also in that pack and This entire pack is going great. Sir, about India. So I was asking you on, can we hold about India for long term? Finally, a pharma question.
Absolutely. I think MNC pharma companies are actually better bet compared to FMCG names because see, the domestic growth is typically 9 to 10 odd percent, if not 11%. And this is one growth where things are a lot more stabler. FMCG companies that deliver 5% volume growth plus 4-5% pricing growth, and they are relatively cheaper compared to. So I think Abbott is trading somewhere about 42 times on a forward basis, so relatively cheaper than some of the FMCG names. And on top of it, if the government is pushing the smaller manufacturers to sort of adopt good manufacturing practices, then I think it opens, then it will lead to more consolidation or more formalization of the industry. So I think that way, MNC pharma names are good.
Okay. Sir, we'll move to hidden gem. So I'll just tell viewers, Pankaj sir already has some engagement for the day in the evening. So that is why we have taken this market wrap early. Instead of 4:30, I've gone live at 4:05. And so before we take your questions, let us complete our main section, that is hidden gem, sir. So let us talk about which sector, sir, and then the stock.
So these days I'm liking stocks which have not done much in terms of price performance, but are fundamentally good stocks. So Saregama was earlier, I spoke about. I think CI Automotive is another company which is a good company but hasn't done much in terms of price performance. Here our target price is 625. Now this is a forging company with larger focus on passenger vehicles, unlike other forging companies where the focus is more on the CV side of the business. 65% of the top line comes from India, and that is where the capex is happening. 35% is coming from Europe. Both margin profiles are domestically and Europe is quite good. This company is again, our sense is that is a good proxy play on the auto industry growth in India. Top line growth is good, expected to 11%. Margin profile is expected to keep getting better, in line with what the Spain-based CI group. And they're good converters, or they throw good amount of cash. So CFO yield is 7%, which is quite attractive, and which is why I feel that the stock should do well. Largely ignored by the market, but we still like this with a target price of 625.
Okay, so I'll just repeat. It's CI Automotive. People who don't know CI Automotive, it was known as Mahindra CI earlier. Now it is known by the name of CI Automotive. And I think Pankaj sir का third time recommendation आया है ये. एक बार मीडिया में आया था, एक बार इसके पहले भी आया था. Sir, questions सारे ले लिए. Viewers, we won't be able to take more questions. But एक reminder आया है, हमारे व्यूअर नहीं दिया, मैंने कुछ नहीं बोला है. Sir, वो song pending है last time का.
Sorry,
आप एक favorite गाना बोलने वाले थे आपका उन दिनों का सारेगामा के ऊपर.
I still don't have, so I thought you were joking.
Okay, so next time we'll get it. मेरे नहीं viewers का है sir, मैंने कुछ नहीं बोला है. ठीक है.
I can understand.
Sir, yeah, sir. Someone is asking just one last question, and this is like it's an important question. Do you have any range for Nifty for this week? कोई range आप दे रहे हो Nifty के लिए coming week?
So, see, 21,800 is taken off. So, my sense is that from 21,800 to 22,300, so 500 point kind of a range is what one should take. But I would also want to sort of stress upon the fact that the result season has started. So, you'll see more of stock specific move. If so, for example, today you had more moves coming from TCS and Inflow, which happened to be a Nifty stock. Now, tomorrow, if you have less of Nifty stocks, so obviously Nifty may not do much, and you'll see more of stock specific moves. And this is the typical reaction what you see in result season.
Absolutely, Vivek. One of the most important reminders for everybody. And going ahead, next week we'll have big banks coming in, so we'll cover that in detail. So thank you very much, sir, for joining us. Thank you so much, viewers, for joining us. See you guys next Friday with Pankaj sir and his favorite song as well.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel and click on the bell icon to never miss an update from ICICI Direct.